doing a little research on the word change in the last couple of years, and some of you have heard me share this before, so it's a very important part of this topic right now. And if you think of the word change, I remember there was a study done in Montreal and a behavioral study that was done on this. And in the behavioral study, they really did a lot of research on people's brains and their stimuli, talking about the process of changing something, whether they were dealing with an alcoholic to go sober, whether it was somebody changing a really bad habit, or somebody just changing their diet, or somebody changing the way they felt about a relationship, or changing the relationship with their mother or their father. And they would have the stimuli, whether it was a positive change or something fearful. The stimuli that would go off in their brain, shot off at a certain level. And what this computer system they had in Montreal was able to do was they analyzed that stimuli that went off when people talked about change. They analyzed that stimuli. And they said to that stimuli, they said, what also does that resemble? And what was interesting is that the same stimuli, like exactly, almost like a fingerprint, that went off in almost everybody's brain when they talked about change was similar to the idea of torture. So why is it that anybody would really want to change if, change resembled in their brain something equivalent to torture, like being held down in a chair and, being, chained up and a light flash in your face? And that's a similar thing to what change feels like for most people. So when you think of the word change, I truly believe that most of us aren't looking for change as much as we're looking for things to be different. Now, if you think about it for a second, change is a nice word, but really what all of you are looking for is things to be different than what they currently are. So if you take a look at the word different and use it for an example, a lot of times when we think things are difficult, they're really just different. It's a shift in perspective that people have. So how do you get things to be different than they currently are today? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and what most people don't realize is we're really looking in an area that really may not resemble what it is we need. So in order for make things to be different, it's really about making some shifts in our lives and doing things a little bit different. It's not that any of you need to make this drastic change or the shift that's, 360 degrees and winds you back in the same spot. And what's interesting is most of us are pre-programmed to change, go the 360 degrees, and wind up back in the same spot. If I were to ask you about the last times you've changed or someone you love that told you they were going to change and thought about changing, they typically wind up back in the same spot. And the reason they wind up back in the same spot and things don't really, work out for them is because for the most part, most people, when they think about change and they think about doing it, they realize that, wow, this is painful, and they wind up back in the same spot. So what if I told you that change really isn't what you were after? You were looking for things to be different. And in order to make them different, what if I gave you a new perspective and a new word today, and it's called making a shift? Now, I'm going to ask you to focus the first part of this call on making the shifts in your life and not necessarily asking other people to make a shift yet, because some of you came here today to evaluate a relationship and ask the question, like, well, can this person really change? And maybe Michael Bernoff will tell me, and I'll decide whether I stay married or I stay in business with this person. I'm going to tell you that's going to be a totally different conversation that we can have a little bit later, and it's one of those that you're going to have with yourself first. But I'm going to tell you that if you're in a situation you shouldn't be in, the first person you have to look in the mirror to shift is yourself. So when I think about shifting, I always think about shifting as a concept of about 180 degrees. And the reason I call it 180 degrees is 180-degree shift, a lot of people realize, is taking you into a different place, taking you in a different direction than you're currently in. Now, what's interesting is the majority of you have a lot of your life already doing something the way you want it to be. If I were to take the three areas of your life, typically one of them is doing well. Whether it's relationships, health, or money, the three things people want, one of them is doing well. So a 180-degree shift in a different direction is going to mess up one of the things you're doing well. So what if it wasn't about a 180-degree shift, and really what it was a 180 shift? And what I call the 180 shift is something a lot of you have done in my audios. A lot of you have done the program we have on our website. If you haven't, you go to michaelbernoff.com. It's free. You can download the 180 shift right there on the website. Watch a little video. It explains it on the homepage, a little button that pulses on the Michael Bernoff site. Yet the reason the 180 shift is so powerful, it's about 180 seconds in your life, a 3-minute period, 360-second period. It's a 3-minute period that every one of us have in our life that really involves creating that change. At Core Strength, I said to everybody, we've all heard before that when one door closes, another one opens, or one window closes, another one opens. Yeah, wouldn't it be smarter than reading off some phrases we read in a book? Wouldn't it make it better than something you heard at your sermon on Sunday? So instead of waiting for a door to close and another one to open, wouldn't it make sense to become a carpenter, become a builder, become a planner, an engineer, and start making our own doors and windows and start opening them when we need so we can walk through and do what it is we need to do? So the reason reason I'm talking to you and getting you off the whole idea of change, nobody really likes change. If you think about it, you get change in your pocket, you buy something, someone hands you back change. It's almost like this useless thing that people don't really care about anymore, and they take the change, they throw it off to the side, whether it's monetary change or, the only people I've ever realized that like change, as silly it is like little kids in their diapers. They like change, but the majority of us don't really want change. What we really want is things to be different. So what I want to help you guys with today in order to create a difference in your life is to teach you how change really works and really how it makes sense. And the majority of us, when we're dealing with other people and we want them to change, it's really just a battle we have going on. The battle of right, the battle of wrong, the battle of positive, the battle of negative. And one of the things I taught this weekend at Core Strength was that when you're dealing with another person, when it comes down to right and wrong, it really isn't the best game to play. The best game to play is, does this work for me or does it not work for me? Does this empower me and help me get where I want to go, or does it kind of put me in a direction I don't want to go in? So the first step that all of us have to really ask is, in order to create these shifts and change in our life, is to really figure out what perspective that we're at. So if I were to give you an example here right now, and this is a really prime example of how shifts and how change takes place in a human being's life, is if you think about something that you really, really want. And I'd like all of you to think about something you want or a way that you'd like something to be. Think about that right now. Whatever it is, a way you'd like something that you want to achieve, or a way that you'd like something to be, the way you'd like it to show up in your life, okay? I want you to think about the thing you want. And when it comes to getting that, we got to put ourselves in a couple of new categories that I believe will help you guys out quite a bit. And one of the categories is, the question is, are you far away from getting what it is you want? Does it require a lot of change? Does it require a little more consistency? Does it require a different perspective? Does it require, a little more action? What does it require to get you from where you are to where you want to go? Because it's not really the change we're looking for as much as we're looking to get what it is we want and things to be different in our lives in a very, very short period of time. So let's take an example here for a second if there's something you want. Now, the first question you have to ask on achieving anything and really creating those shifts in your life is this. Am I on my way to getting where I want to go? And am I just a little bit impatient? Am I on my way? I cannot figure out how to get there exactly, but I'm doing okay, and I want to get to the next level. And these are some of the students that I work with always say to me, Michael, if you could just show me how to get to the next level and I could do it consistently, I'm going to be very, very happy. And for a lot of you, that's really where you're at right now. Your question is, can I get to the next level? You're on your way. You're proud of yourself. You're headed there. You just haven't figured out how to get yourself to do that consistently. And I want you to think about that for a second. Now, there's another group of you who are having a different challenge. You are what's called stuck, and you're having trouble getting started. So one group of you is already doing well. You're already pushing. You're already making things happen, and you're proud of yourself, and everything's going really, really well, yet you'd like to do better. And there's another group of you that are feeling stuck. And the reason I'm going to have you analyze that is because your stance on what's going on really is going to make all of the difference.